Hello. Well, Caddx are currently have a stand at the Shenzhen UASE drone exhibition in China, and they released a video on their Facebook group that kind of just advertised the fact that they were there. And I thought I would go through the video and a few other photographs that have been leaked and see what it is they've actually got on show. So this is the video. We'll go through it. I'll pause at different things and see what we can see. Now, first thing really I suppose I should say is I talk to Caddx almost every other day about all sorts of different things, and there's things that I've seen in these images that I think I know what they are. But the thing with Caddx is when you're talking to them, you never get a straight answer about anything. And so half the time you don't know whether you're being told something that's confirmed to be being made or whether it's aspirational. So for example, down in here you can see the Cine goggles. We see them in a couple of the parts of this video and a few other leaked photographs. And I've been told the spec of the goggles, but yet there's nowhere that I can see here in any of the brochures that they've released to do with this exhibition that actually lists the spec of the goggles. So I'm not actually confident that the spec that I've been told is the spec that will eventually be released. So I'm not going to say what I've been told because I don't want to be completely wrong and I don't want to get kind of people's hopes up and that kind of thing. Where I have been told stuff and I can see stuff in the photographs or in this video that confirms what I've been told, then I'm going to happily tell you. But other things that I can't quantify whether what I've been told is confirmed or aspirational, I'm not going to say anything. So we'll go through the video anyway, and I'll pause it at different things and point out a few things that that we see. Yeah, there we go. See the unseen, and here we are. As you can see, the first thing is these little tiny whips. Later on in this video, there's a title board of these drones, and they're called Curve Micro. I have been told early specs of these. The only thing that I can, I guess, looking at this now, confirm that is they're 75mm. They're 75mm whips. And anybody that's at this expo that has a tape measure or a ruler in their pocket will be able to lift the drone up and measure it and say, yeah, that's 75mm corner to corner. As with the Pro Toss and one or two other things that Caddx have done in terms of motors and things like that, I very much doubt that the KV is listed on this on the motors. So the KV that I've been told, I can't confirm whether that's right or not, so I'm not going to mention the KV. But these are 1S 75mm whips that have the Ascent VTX in them, and they're called the Curve Micro. Moving along, RC cars. This year, I think it's due to regulations and different kind of governments clamping down on drones. Caddx are going to lean really heavily into FPV cars. Now, I'm not sure whether this is a car that has been designed specifically for Caddx, or they've just got an off-the-shelf car and modded it to fit one of their kind of VTXs in it. But you will see more things coming later in the year aimed towards RC cars. I guess Caddx see it as an untapped area of FPV where they can kind of move in and get some of the market share. Moving on. Lots of people. This is an interesting thing. What you'll see here is on this little demo, they move the stick and the camera zooms in and out. This, let me just move back slightly to that, and I do have a closer up picture of a brochure of this. This is the Ascent GT-Z40. It's an industrial camera that has zoom functionality, and if memory serves, it's 32 times zoom on this one. There is another one that has it's called the Z8, and it's an 8 times zoom, and it pairs with the GT Pro. Now, some people have contacted me about these because they found them on AliExpress and they bought them. And if you go to AliExpress now and decide to buy one, I would highly recommend that you don't, because it needs specific firmware. Otherwise, the camera can no longer be seen by the VTX. And if you flash, say, normal GT Pro firmware, which is out there, you'll not be able to use the zoom features of the camera, and you basically just bricked the whole unit. So unless somewhere, somehow, the actual specific firmware for these these zoom camera units gets leaked or becomes available, I would suggest you don't buy them. I know 2 people that have them, one in the US and one in Europe, and they've both basically backed themselves into a corner because they've bought it, and the firmware that's on it they couldn't pair with their goggles or VRX, so they decided to update the firmware so they matched, and when they did that, they lost the ability to, the VTX just couldn't see the camera anymore. But this is real interesting stuff from them. Here we have an Ascent repeater and the Ascent VRX Max and the Ascent VTX Max. Now, what we've seen so far with Ascent is literally just the tip of the iceberg. We as consumers are kind of the I don't want to say the afterthought of Caddx, but clearly when it comes to revenue building, industry is where they're going to make their money, and that's where they're investing heavily on the Ascent system. It sucks for us, but in some ways I take solace in the fact that if they have a constant stable revenue stream of these things, and they have hundreds or thousands of industrial or commercial clients using these, then they're going to make sure that these things work properly. And my hope is that that funding and that development filters down to more consumer gear. And when Caddx did announce that they were making Ascent about a year and a half ago, they talked about how there was going to be these kind of 3 parts to Ascent. I kind of call them three branches of this one Ascent tree. One of them was this budget friendly system, and that's what we've seen so far with the Protoss, the Ascent goggles, the Ascent VTX. But they also talked about this kind of Cine, higher end Cine kind of branch, and they did also talk about a low latency or a fixed latency branch, and we haven't really seen anything of these other 2 branches yet. And I'm hoping that revenue received from selling these kind of industry and commercial gear is what's going to fund these other 2 branches. Let's keep going. And the Ascent GT Pro and the Ascent GT. Now, does anybody notice anything about this still? They're round the wrong way. This is the Ascent GT Pro, and this is the Ascent GT. The Pro can do up to 4 watts, and this can do 2 watts. And I'm going to bring up a brochure and go through that shortly. I think we'll see this for consumers where we won't see that. I have one of these. I managed to get it from Eastern Europe. These will not be made widely available, but this is kind of more regulation friendly. It's going to be about 2 watts, I think. and these are kind of on par with this. Clearly there's more antennas, so there's wider frequencies, or kind of more resilience when it comes to the actual sending and receiving of the video. Let's keep going. Here's an interesting thing. So you'll see down the bottom of this row, we'll get to it in a second, is another little picture of that curve micro quad. And if you look here, to my eyes, that says curve. I don't know anything about these. Nobody has ever mentioned anything to me about 5-inch quads. But I wonder if we're getting a curve micro, are we going to get a curve 5-inch, or are these industry units that they're showing off to prospective industry and commercial people, but won't be available to us? Just on that note, I actually did corner one of the Caddx contacts that I have and asked them about, well, how do I become commercial? And basically, if you are a registered business with a what do they call it, a tax ID, then you can contact Caddx and buy the items. Basically what happens is you take on liability for the shipping and any duties or customs or anything like that, and the items basically get sent to you directly from the factory. It's kind of bypasses Caddx themselves. So yeah, if you're a company out there, you may be able to get these if you contact Caddx in an official commercial kind of route. Let's get going. There's the GoFilm 20, there's the Protoss, and there's the little curve micros. Let's just quickly go back a little bit. Yeah, if you look there, it says curve micro. So does that mean that those 5-inch quads were just the curve 5-inch? Who knows? Let's keep going. And there's the little quads, and yeah, they're 75mm. And here we are getting to the Cine goggles. So Caddx did tell us a few different times when kind of people have been talking about the upgradability of the goggles X through one thing or another. I'm not going to go back over all of that. These can't be upgraded. At the minute, Ascent isn't really an upgrade to Avatar. It may well be in the future. But at the minute it's not, and I think these goggles is what's going to bridge the system from this kind of budget introductory system that we have at the minute. And when these finally release, that's going to kickstart the next kind of phase. If you imagine, it's like the Marvel cinematic universe and how it was all released in phases. I think the Protoss and the Ascent is kind of the Caddx Universal or Universe Ascent Phase 1, and when we see these goggles, I think that's going to be the start of Phase 2. I think the reason why there's a separate unit on the table and one connected to the goggles is because it's to demonstrate that one of these is Ascent and one of these is Avatar. I think that says Avatar on there, actually, if we look closely. Yeah, it does. That's definitely a T. So this connects in, and this one unit can do Avatar and Ascent. Now, why would you want to spend money and buy these upgraded goggles to use on a $25 or $35 100 milliwatt VTX? Well, because when these release, we'll probably start seeing other things coming afterwards, like that Ascent GT, that you'll be able to use these goggles with the next phase of VTX releases. That's kind of how, from all the different things that I've been told, from the different things that I've read, from the different things that I see, that's kind of how I rationalize that. I don't know if I'm right. It's just kind of how I rationalize it. I've mentioned a few times about a brochure. basically what I did is I paused this and I scanned that QR code with my phone, and it brought me to a brochure that presumably people in the audience, that the members that come and visit this, can actually see the what the Caddx products. A lot of these products, the likes of the VRX Pro, is in the brochure, but these goggles aren't. And I think that's because these are still under development, and I think these are probably working demonstration models. And the spec that I've been told, I don't think, because they're not in the brochure and there's nowhere in any of these videos, I don't think they've kind of honed in and solidified what the spec of these goggles is going to be. But if what I'm told is kind of true, it's real interesting. I mean, what we definitely know from what Caddx have said publicly is they will have live streaming audio into them. I assume that's going to be with the Ascent VRX element rather than Avatar. This is kind of going to be just so you can migrate over to Ascent and continue to use all your existing Avatar gear with the one set of goggles. But yeah, the spec on these is fairly interesting from what I've been told. Let's keep going. There's the repeater, we've seen that before, and the Ascent Pro and the normal Ascent VRX. And the main difference between these two, this can do wider frequencies, which isn't really much use to us as consumers, but the main thing is going to be this 1080, 100 and 1080, 120, just to give you higher resolution and lower latency. Let's keep going. What do we see? New gimbals are on the horizon. We've already seen the GM3 V2. There'll be more. And that's that. Okay, so I'll quickly jump over to some other photographs that I have and the brochure. Just give me a second. Okay, so this is a PDF that I downloaded. When you scanned that QR code that you could see all over those little stands, it basically brought you to a website of this where you could download it. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. Yep, that'll do. So a little bit of history about Caddx, what they're doing, what they're planning, and so on and so on. Let's keep going. Core technology. Anything interesting in there? High bandwidth wireless. Not at the minute. Let's just keep going. I don't want this to be too long. Protos, we've seen. It's out in the wild. The Go Film 20. Goggles X. Goggles L. VRX repeater. And some of the flagship Avatar VTXs. Well, this is interesting that they're... Oh, that's the V2 VTX. Yeah. Let's keep going. Now we're into Ascent. The goggles. And here we go, the Pro. So the main thing to note here is the antenna bandwidth. Now the COM frequency is the same, but the antenna bandwidth is vastly different, and we know that we could unlock this to have a whole lot of power and channels. And of course, if you unlocked it and you wanted to use one of the other channels, you needed to change the antenna to something that suited the frequency that you wanted to use. Excuse me. With this one, you probably won't have to do that because the antennas cover the entire frequency sweep. So that's handy. And yeah, the main thing is this kind of higher resolution and higher frame rates. I'm not sure when this is coming out. If it's in this brochure, surely it can't be too far away. Same with this, the Light Plus. Now, the one thing I did notice, it says here that they've both got the same camera. What I have been told is that the Light Plus can record audio. Some of the testing guys out there have this and they're recording audio with it, and this will be able to live stream audio to the Cine goggles. I have an early version of the RC VTX, which surprisingly didn't actually appear anywhere in this, and it can record audio to my goggles and to my VRX. I don't have any means to live stream it, but I can record the audio onto the video file, and the microphone is on the camera. So I don't know whether this camera will actually eventually change and have similar setup to the RC VTX, which Iron Quad are selling under UHD. So they may change this to a different camera that has the microphone built into the camera, like the UHD unit, or maybe they've just embedded the microphone in here. I don't know. I haven't received it. I could ask one of the testers. Maybe they'll mention to us. And here we go. Yep, GT Pro. This is industry equipment. We can't use this. We can't get it, really. But this, 2 watts compared to the 4. I think they're making this so we can have it. What I was told, the reason why this is only industry only is because of this 4 watt. And myself and a few others had been asked a long time ago about kind of what our regulations were in our respective countries, and I think they decided, oh, we can't sell that to you guys. So I kind of think that this is coming out to appease all of us that want to fly long range or just basically want to have higher power, and this is more regulation friendly. So I'm pretty sure we'll see this. Looking at the spec down here, it doesn't have as wide frequency range as this, but we know that this comm frequency is well, no, that's about right. I'm getting mixed up with one of the others. And here's those zoom cameras that I was talking about. And yeah, I say they are on AliExpress, but do not buy them, because you'll not get firmware. You'll try and bind it to your VTX or your VRX or your goggles. It'll not bind because the firmware doesn't match, and then you'll not be able to get the firmware to actually update this. I really wish we could get these. I'm hoping maybe they'll sell the cameras separately and we will eventually be able to buy them, or maybe they'll make a version with the 2 watt VTX, and that way then we will be able to buy them. Here's hoping. And then we're down into kind of their analog night vision units, more night vision and infra units. And yeah, so we have, let me see, yeah, so Walksnail Ascent, it's kind of noted here, and then we're down into here, it's just FPV imaging. So these are, I think, more of their analog items, and yeah, more of the camels. And there's some of the gimbals that we're getting, the V2s, slightly lighter. I do have this one. They sent it to me a little while ago to test, to make sure that some of the firmware and the head tracking and things like that was compatible, and it is. And it's it's pretty much the same as the first version. It's just slightly lighter, and it's just nicer to have the connectors on the base plate rather than on this back bit. It just makes it easier to install in few things. And this is the GM1. I don't know if anybody who uses the GM1. I have a GM2, which I like. No, hold on, I might get confused. Well, I have a 2-axis roll in my car. What is it? Roll, because I don't need yaw, so it's 2 axes. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that's the brochure. I'll post it in the links in the description. The link to it in the bottom, and you can go through it in your own time. And then I'll just go to some of the photos that I've leaked. Okay, and so finally, just some photographs that I found on Discord and a few different places that were sent to me. This is the Gazer. It's not the Gazer. It's not one of these. I mean, it looks like one of these, but I don't think it is. I think it want to be the Gazer infra thermal camera. Yeah, these are some of the pictures and stills from the video. Yeah, look at this. 3G frequency. So Ascent can do really low frequency and really high frequency and everywhere in between. Now for hobbyists, that's useless to us really. Excuse me. But if you're doing long range, for example, long range guys would normally use kind of 1.2, 1.3 or 2.4 video because it goes further. So this may be interesting for some long range guys if they can get a hold of it. Clearly it's been designed for that kind of purpose. At the minute I think this is all going to be industry gear, but I hope the likes of this we'll be able to get. We've seen some of that. Yeah, close up of the Ascent goggles. A little HDMI there, and looks like a little cover or a little button there. And there's the. Let's zoom in. So what's that, to change the focus maybe? Look at that, audio up and down, brightness up and down. I think this is the QR code actually that I scanned to get the brochure up. And then on the side we've got our usual kind of what we would see on our VRX menu, up, down, left, right, record, back, and presumably then on the side there it's kind of, well, with the HDMI on the bottom, power and things like that. Other little screenshots that I took off the video of the little curve in the car. More of the, yeah, and these are just screenshots that I took from the brochure before I downloaded it. And yeah, more kind of evidence that Ascent can do wide frequency. So there's a lot to Ascent that we just don't see, we just don't know about. It sucks. I'm kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm trying to see the bright side of it all and kind of say that it sucks that we can't get an awful lot of this stuff, but I kind of take solace in the fact that this stuff exists, which means Caddx clearly are kind of doubling down with Ascent and what it can do, and basically they're banking their future on Ascent. So there must be something with Ascent that they're confident that there's longevity with it. And as I said, they talked about having these three branches, and we've only ever seen the first branch, and I think we're now moving into that second kind of Caddx Ascent phase where we'll start to see more, and when the likes of the Cine goggles come out we'll really start to understand what's in it for us as consumers. But yeah, there we go. I'm sure I've forgotten something that I wanted to add, but I wanted to just try and get this out. And basically, just to kind of reiterate, Caddx have told me stuff. I've only told you things that I can confirm are happening from what I've seen in these brochures or in the little videos. Other stuff that I've been told that I just can't confirm is I haven't said. And yeah, anything really that I've talked about is more or less there in the public domain. So yeah, there we go. Till the next one. Bye.